Finally, after a month of the trial, the fate of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp is now in the jury's hands. The jury is yet to deliver their verdict if Amber Heard is guilty or not guilty of defamation against Johnny. But why does it feel like Johnny Depp has already won? First of all, Johnny seems to have already won the heart of America and the world. We can all easily say that even those people who weren't following the case, given all the hate and backlash the Aquaman actress is currently receiving, Heard most likely lost. And for us, who have devotedly followed Johnny's journey since his divorce up to his lost libel case with The Sun, and his ongoing $50 million defamation case against Amber Heard, we all know that Johnny has every advantage in this case, looking at the solid evidence and witness stands. But why exactly does it feel like, even amidst the deliberation, that Heard has already lost? And what could this signify for the trial? Today's video will answer that and more. But before any of that, make sure that you subscribe to our channel and you smash that notification bell for more updates on this. Now, let's dig in. After 6 weeks of exhibits, arguments, and witnesses, the lawyers of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard presented their final statements on Sunday, rested their case, and handed it over to the jury to decide. Those who have been following along at home are left to wonder who will win in this brief moment of expectation. It's the largest question, but it's also the most obvious. The case was settled in many respects before the trial even started. An op-ed published in December 2018 by the Washington Post, in which Depp is not named, is at the center of Depp's defamation complaint, which he launched in 2019. The subject of dispute, as Heard's attorney Ben Rottenborn reminded the jury in his closing argument, is largely two sentences. First, then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic mistreatment, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. Then, I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of maltreatment. Heard is likely referring to the moment when her bruised face covered People magazine and was photographed outside a courthouse after obtaining a temporary restraining order against Depp. Hours and hours of testimony and evidence sprang from just two phrases, but the headline of the web version, which both sides have gone over again. In their closing arguments, Camille Vasquez and Benjamin Chu gave their last piece in two halves, just like they did with the opening comments all those weeks ago. Vasquez first went over the evidence presented to the jury, which included a psychologist diagnosing Heard with borderline personality disorder and something called histrionic personality disorder, as well as several gaps, including the lack of Depp admitting to hitting Heard on tape, the lack of the medical files for Heard's claims, and the lack of witnesses for Depp's alleged actions. She played a number of tapes, including one in which Heard purportedly admits to physical harm and another in which she claims she donated the $7 million divorce settlement from Depp to the American Civil Liberties Union and the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. Vasquez reminded the jury that the whole amount was never paid to those institutions. Heard has said they understood it was a pledge and she could pay over time, and she was open with them that the payment stopped because of financial difficulties from the lawsuit. Vasquez claimed Heard was out to get her client. She didn't want a divorce. She wanted to ruin him, she said. Chu took over and took the jury back to Depp's early years, reminding them of the actor's impoverished roots and terrible upbringing, in which his mother was the aggressor. Chu referenced #MeToo, a movement in which women allegedly felt free to come forward about domestic and physical mistreatment about fear of retaliation, such as expensive and time-consuming lawsuits, to claim that there have been no Me Too's or other women who have been in previous relationships with Depp who have came forward to claim Depp harmed them as well. He used Kate Moss, who testified by video on Wednesday, to refute the story that Depp shoved her down the stairs in 1990s, as an example. After a short break, Rottenborn, one of Heard's lawyers, began his closing argument. He asked the jury to think about the message that Mr. Depp and his attorney are sending to Amber, and by extension, every victim of domestic maltreatment everywhere. If you didn't take pictures, it didn't happen. If you did take pictures, they're fake. If you didn't tell your friends, you're lying. If you did tell your friends, they're part of the hoax. If Depp harmed Heard one time, psychologically, emotionally, or physically, then she wins, he said. He also said that if the jury believes they are aggressive to each other, then she still wins. He, too, walked the jury through the evidence of harassment, including verbal and physical. They heard audio of Depp shouting obscenities and were read again many of the text messages. This trial is about so much more than Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, Rottenborn said in closing. It's about freedom of speech. Stand up for it, protect it, and reject Mr. Depp's claims against Amber, Rottenborn said. The bar is high for Depp, as Rottenborn pointed out, but it's hard not to get the idea that that limited legal threshold doesn't matter outside the courtroom. In many respects, Depp has already won. It's Depp's case, one he pursued despite knowing it would unearth the darkest moments of his life, in part because he's been here before and it's already happened, and he felt it was worth it in order to say his bit on the stand, which he did several times. Heard was not given the opportunity to opt in. Even if the jury rules in her favor, she has already lost the case. However, the focus of this litigation isn't on whether Heard was a perfect victim or if strong men can be mistreated. What it's all about is still quite straightforward. It's about whether Heard had the right to declare she represents domestic maltreatment in a single sentence, in an op-ed, on how women who speak out against domestic harm suffer as a result of it, and how that has to change. Even though the evidence was relentless, if there were anything uncertain, they were rejected, obscured, or confounded by lawyers during their jobs. It's about something much more than those phrases for the audience and Depp. On the stand, he stated as much. He pursued the lawsuit in part because it was the only time that I was able to speak and use my own voice. His desire was total global humiliation, and in that, he's already succeeded. Depp has demonstrated 10 times over that he can command a fan army of admirers and/or detractors. Some have questioned whether some are bots, but the vast majority of individuals spewing venom online appear to be real people. Some of the real-life fans who traveled to the Virginia courthouse, spending tens of thousands of dollars to be there, were interviewed. According to Vice, conservative news site The Daily poured thousands of dollars into pieces like that have been described how Johnny Depp's character have been bashed, as well as mercenary YouTubers and Instagram accounts that shifted their attention to the trial because it drew attention. And he won in that. He was able to convey his entire story straight to the public with the help of his lawyers, teeing him up, and the camera feeds in the courtroom. Both had the opportunity to speak at the trial. If they find that Heard did not slander her ex-husband, she will lose because she was forced to come here when she was subjected to untold internet bullying and had to relive what was, by all accounts, a poisonous marriage for far longer than the relationship lasted. If they find that Heard acted with true malice in defaming Depp and caused the harm he claims, Depp will receive monetary compensation in addition to satisfaction. The harassment and the humiliation, the campaign against me that's echoed every single day on social media and now in front of cameras in the showroom. Every single day I have to relive the trauma, Heard said. Perhaps it's easy to forget I'm a human being. She added, she was the final witness in the case this week, and she made another plea to be left alone on the stand before closing arguments. Whatever transpired between them, her punishment for the entire relationship is obvious. That's all for today. We hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and smash that notification bell for more episodes.